It's the Critics Circle with me, Charles Gross, and Leslie Hoban Blake. Tonight, an interview with Jessica Sherr, star of Bette Davis Ain't for Sissies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Critics Circle. Hello, Leslie. How are you?
Hi, Charlie. Pretty well, thanks, all things considered. The weather has been like, 30 degrees. Come on. Snow, come on.
Cold outside. Yes, it's winter. Well, something that may warm you up. Our interview this evening with Jessica Sherr. She started Bette Davis Ain't for Sissies as a class project, and it has since blossomed at festivals, international tours, and now it's been filmed and will be shown, I think, in March on Broadway on demand.
Absolutely. And she's not just the actor in it. She wrote it and she has produced it. And I mean, she doesn't produce it all the time, but right now she's producing it. And she's turned it into a work that she can do during the pandemic. I have nothing but admiration for this young woman.
So without further ado, Jessica Sherr. Fasten your seatbelts, everyone. It's going to be a bumpy night because we have Jessica Sherr, who is doing her one-woman show, Bette Davis Ain't for Sissies. And not only is Bette Davis Ain't for Sissies, doing a one-woman show isn't for sissies.
It's very exciting to have you here. I met you a few weeks ago. And to talk a little bit about the ethos of the show. How did you, who are not Bette Davis, get to be Bette Davis?
Exactly. I think she chose me because it's an unlikely match. And in 2000, thank you both for having me. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Charles.
Our pleasure.
for bringing me on. So what happened was 2008, I was kind of walking around New York City and people would stop me in the street and they would say, "You look like a young Bette Davis. You got Bette Davis eyes." And they would be people I did not know. So finally, I had Googled her and I realized as a young Bette, there was a resemblance. We weren't twins, but there was something. And that same year, I had a mentor who had said, "Look, kid, if you want to do anything in New York, you got to do a solo show." And this, of course, is before like web series. And he said, "I dare you to write a solo show." Okay, fine. So me being me, I said yes, and as I do. And that was the beginning of this idea that I'll write something for myself and I'll put it up somewhere. And then I was in a class, and in the class, you had to do a famous person. I was set to do Lucille Ball because I know all about Lucy. And then I kept thinking about this Bette Davis person that I sort of looked like. And that was the beginning of me starting to research Bette's life. And when I read her book, The Lonely Life, I was so just in awe of this young, feisty character. Because I wasn't a Baby Jane fan yet, I didn't know about this young, plucky, dark victory Bette. The All About Eve Bette was later. So I got very interested in her young life. And especially she had told her mother she was going to leave the 1939 Oscars early because she lost to Gone with the Wind. And the writer in me thought, well, that's interesting. There's your inciting moment. If I was Bette Davis and I left the Oscars early, what would my life be like? And so that was the beginning of me putting in this class. It was just a class. It was just it was a class. And these little class exercises turned into 28-minute vignettes of these characters. And we did it off Broadway at Roy Arias Studios, way off Broadway. And we did 13 Saturdays. And my mentor came and I thought I was done. And then I couldn't stop thinking about it. Waking up, thinking I had something. And then I put it into the New York Fringe Festival. And that was the beginning of this journey. And that was 2011 is when I started performing it for audiences. And after New York Fringe, I got really interested because so many people came to see the show. It wasn't really ready to be seen by audiences, but people wanted to see Bette Davis. And so I had researched and I found out about Edinburgh Fringe Festival. And so I took myself to Scotland and I went 3 years in a row. And it was amazing because I wanted to know, could Jessica Sherr do 24 shows? And sure enough, I could. And while I was at Edinburgh the first year, an audience member said, "I like you, kid. I like your show. I know the guy at the St. James Theatre in London." And he called him. And sure enough, there I was going to London, to the St. James Theatre. And I performed there. And then I came back to America and I did three times I went to Edinburgh, and that really gave me, life for the show. And then I learned how to tour it. I Googled how do you tour Bette Davis. And before I did that, I had reached out to the Bette Davis estate. I had sent them my script to see if they would approve for me to use her name because I wasn't sure if it was legal. And I got a call on a Sunday and Catherine Cermak said, "Hi, my name is Catherine Cermak. I was Bette Davis's assistant for 10 years. I read your play. It's wonderful. Can I help you?" And I was like, "Yes, of course." So I went out to Los Angeles and she talked with me about Betty and her life. And at the end of our meeting, she gave me a pair of Betty's scarf, handkerchief, earrings, and gloves to wear in the show. And I thought, well, I can't give up. Can't, now I have to keep going. And then at that point, I was kind of on this just energy to continue just doing the show. I ended up getting, after I Googled how do you tour your show, I found out you can go to these arts conferences. So I took myself to these arts conferences around the country and I started meeting theater presenters and they kind of fell in love with me and the show. And this one, I had a 15-minute showcase in Milwaukee. And he said, look, kid, I like you. I like your show. I want to give you a 4-week run in Chicago. I was like, what does that mean? I'm from New York. You don't give anything. And so sure enough, he gave me a 4-week run, 5 shows a week.
Now, what does that mean? Was he producing the show? Was he just giving you the space?
He was both. So he was giving me the space as an artist and I had to come up with everything else myself. So I was the one producing it while I was there, but he gave me the space. And that was enough for me to say yes, and because I felt it would improve my experience in a different audience. And then what happened in Chicago, it went really well there. And then he said, look, kid, your show's not done. I want you to come back next year, expand your show, come back. And I came back in 2018 with an expanded show, which was now from 60 minutes to 90 minutes. And he gave me another 4-week run. And that was probably the best reviews I'd ever gotten, just because I had done so much work on the show and the audiences were great.
I want to interrupt for 1 second and ask why everybody says, hey, kid, to you. It's like that's a standard thing that everybody said to you. How young were you when you were doing this?
I mean, I started young. This show has been 10 years. I mean, when you see it on stage, it's such a different life right now. Doing it on, small screen is weird because the show itself is big. It's a big show. I was young when I started. I'm not young, but I started.
No, you're not. I didn't mean that. But
yeah, I was this plucky person, Jessica. Just following the breadcrumbs of yesing. I yesed a lot, and I think that's why the show went so far. I said no when I felt in my gut it wasn't right, and I've been fortunate. There's been a many times where I knew something wasn't the right direction.
I know we're talking about Bette Davis, but has this kept you from doing other things, or have you had a career besides Bette Davis?
No, I'm a working actress in film and TV. So before pandemic, I did a TV show, 2 TV shows out in New Orleans, Claws and Cloak and Dagger. And then I was on Blue Bloods not too long ago here in New York. I was in the movie Annie. I have a web series.
Which version?
The Quizon Wallace version with which was like the last Annie in 2014. And Jamie Foxx version of Anne. And hey, it paid for my wedding dress.
By the way, I watched Cloak and Dagger. I'm an overage fangirl. I love anything Marvel and DC. I watch everything. We watched an in your home pandemic Zoom version of your show last night. And it was really fabulous. It's a great script. But what you told us at the time was that you had gone to Hoboken and that you had taped the show on a set as it's supposed to be seen, and that's coming up. So give us some information about that.
And I think Leslie's reaction and mine was, oh, they have theaters in Hoboken? Who knew?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was great.
I won't say that because I've been to Hoboken and I know they have a theater anyway. Go ahead. Sorry.
The reason I probably wasn't afraid of Hoboken is because I had done theater there years ago. There was a place called the Hudson Theater Ensemble, and they had seen my Bette Davis show and had asked if I wanted to do theater with them. So I got to do amazing stuff there. I got to Jordan Baker in The Great Gatsby. I got to play the lead in As Bees and Honey Drown, which is insane, that play. I
love that play.
Yeah, it was such a wonderful challenge. I did Almost Maine with them. So I had not a fear of Hoboken, and I knew it was close. For the producer and me, I was like, Hoboken is close. So what happened was, in my Zoom situations, I had a really good review from Ed Rubin, and he...
Fast Eddie is a good friend of ours, yes.
Yeah, and he was... I'll tell you, he was such a savior in my pandemic world, because when you're doing your show by yourself, you get no feedback. I can't hear anyone laugh, nothing. And he was so mesmerized by the piece, and he had called me, which you never have a reviewer call you, and he shared his review before anything went to print, because he wanted to touch base.
That is very unusual.
Yes,
and often very dangerous, even if it's a good review.
Yeah, I was floored and touched by it, and so nice to have a real conversation with someone at that point, because it was like mid-pandemic, like it was tough. And he kind of opened a door that I felt like that was the best review I had in a long time, especially because it's not me on stage. And he captured what I was trying to do here, opposed to being on a theater. And so that review got to Broadway on Demand. And so they had called and said, Broadway on Demand is kind of like the Netflix, for those who don't know. It's like the Netflix of Broadway. So if you want to be in the theater world and you're not in New York, you don't have to be. You can go to Broadway on Demand and watch shows. So I was asked to do a live stream for them. And I said, I don't have one. And they said, well, would you be willing to produce it and allow us to stream it? And I was like, well, yes, and in the middle of a pandemic. And that's what happened. They recommended the theater in Hoboken. And because I knew Hoboken, I had friends who were like, oh, they're great. So it's called Manhattan Square Theater. They're a wonderful theater. They're probably about 150 seats, very intimate. Their set that was from before pandemic was still up. So when I saw it, I was like, can we leave this set? Because it had windows and it was kind of Betty enough. And they let me use their set. I ordered in my set pieces from Amazon, had them delivered. They are a COVID-friendly space. So everything, there's new air coming into the space every 20 minutes. They had HEPA filters. I felt so safe doing this show because I wanted to bring my director, Karen Carpenter, with me. And again, I didn't want to be unsafe in this weird world, but I also didn't want to miss an opportunity. So we did it and it was fabulous. The gentleman who filmed my show had actually filmed it in 2015 at the John W. Engelman Theater. And I loved him. And I called him and I said, we haven't spoken in a million years, but I'm doing this filming thing and I think you'd be perfect. And he goes, yes, Jess, I follow you all the time. I see you're always like hustling it. Of course I'll film it for you. And he was right. I'm always hustling it. And it, we ended up using 3 cameras. So I think it'll be a really nice edit. Not having the audience is tough because I couldn't get me as a comedian. Jessica, I'm funny. So I get that energy. Like
it's hard. It's hard without the feedback.
It was hard. And, I unfortunately, it put me in my head a little bit, but at the same time, my director, Karen's like, it's the best work you've done. I think I was so happy to be in a. Yeah. I mean, there was a scene, the Ruthie mother scene that you saw, the death scene is like, when you see it in a theater with the lights and the energy and the time, because it takes time when I'm on stage. I'm not rushing it. And you feel as though you're with me and the mother. So it's some of the work I did in that theater. I emailed them. I said, guys, I've done some of the best work ever in my life in your theater. Thank you.
If you're stuck on Gilligan's Island and you have one Betty Davis movie you can have with you.
Ooh, that's tough. Oh my goodness. Probably All About Eve, Leslie. I mean, some of the best lines ever, look into the heart of an artichoke, just so well crafted, that script. That would be probably the one.
But it was wasn't it also like a compilation of everything she ever did and who she was at that moment in time? That's what was so perfect about that.
When I think of the image of Betty Davis, when I think of the quintessential Betty Davis, it is absolutely all about Eve. I think, yes, that's Betty Davis. Yeah. Aside from the fact that she probably wanted to play the role herself, what do you think Betty Davis would have said about your show?
Oh, I think she'd be proud. I'm one of the few people who are playing her young. And there's been so many times that Jessica, just wanted to give up because it's me by myself, self-producing. Like I was telling Charles earlier, it's hard. It's me scrapping stuff together. And I've had moments I said, Betty, like, you got to make this easier because this is tough, and, but I think she'd be proud. I feel if she didn't like what I was doing, she would have shut it down. And
so she's an active patron saint in this, is she? I mean, that's not what she would be really, but she's really a talisman there for you, huh?
She's a talisman of good work. And if she sees good work, she is a fan. And that is where she always had her disagreements with people. She didn't like Errol Flynn because he couldn't learn his lines. With me, I'm a hard worker and I have similar traits to her. And so I keep saying, you got to give me something. But
well, you're not alone then. You said you were alone, but you're not alone then, are you?
That's right.
So self-producing may not be for sissies, but neither is Betty Davis. Jessica, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica. Take care.
You too.
And that is our show for this evening. Please subscribe to this channel.
And don't forget to follow us in the Critic Circle.